Hello, Ching-Ching. How are you?
Hi, Yousra. Uh, so nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Nice to see you again because I always see you on Facebook. And today we had the chance to talk in a Zoom interview. And welcome to the IKIGAI podcast.
Yes, and thank you for having me as a guest for your IKIGAI podcast series. Um, I am so appreciate that you include me as part of the diverse line of the professional that you have interviewed. I can see that you have been using this podcast as a platform for diversity, and promoting diversity is really my passion, the project, and I feel diversity is the key step for us to move toward more inclusion and more acceptance in this field.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you noticed the diversity aspect in my podcast because my podcast is open to everyone all around the world without any discrimination. And we're all in this together to talk about our human experience in this life. And most importantly, since we all stick to the word ikigai, not necessarily the word, but the concept in itself of someone's purpose in life, I'm glad to have someone like you who's active in instilling diversity and inclusive global education around the world. Actually, I'm going to tell our listeners or whoever's going to watch our Ikigai podcast how I knew you, Ching-Ching. So I knew you through the TESOL International Association. And most importantly, I knew you through your Facebook group, the diversity and inclusion, very active community, friendly to everyone, hosting everyone without discrimination and all in good vibes. So who is Ching-Ching? So can you introduce yourself to whoever doesn't know you, maybe in the field, if someone else not belonging to the ELT profession wants to listen to this podcast. So who is Ching-Ching?
Yes. But first, I want to say a little bit about my affinity to the Ikigai philosophy. I really appreciate that you bring you introduced me to this philosophy. So I'm originally from Taiwan, and Taiwan was once under the sphere of influence of Japan. So my father's early childhood education actually was in Japanese. So through my father, I was exposed to a lot of Japanese cultures. I love their literature and soap opera, of course. And I remember when I was little, whenever my father came back from his business trip to Japan, and he will bring back us some gift, like stationery, color pencil that are beautifully wrapped and packaged. As you know, that Japanese, they're known for their packaging industry. So they are very detail oriented. But on the other hand, they also have the ability to simplify life. So for example, like Buddhism, it was introduced from India to China and Japan. And when it is under the Japan, it was simplified and then divide into Zen Buddhism. So it's a philosophy that directing us back to the basic, encouraging us to have a more mindful awareness of our relationship to the immediate surrounding. And I think that this is the kind of ikigai that I can relate it to. So thank you for this gift to me. And now I'm going to introduce a little bit of myself. So currently I'm teaching TESOL and bilingual education at the university in New York. But originally, as I say, I came from Taiwan. As an international student, I studied philosophy. Then when I received my MA degree, I became a social study and the ESL teacher at high school. And through that position, I have that opportunity to work with culturally linguistic and diverse student population. And that's when I feel I was so underprepared. I feeling so inadequate to work with this population. So I went back to graduate school and pursue a doctorate degree in education. Under education, but my dissertation focused on the literacy challenge multilingual learners in a mainstream classroom. But soon after I graduated, my school closed. And that's when I started looking for a job with the opportunity to working with the multilingual students. And then I realized in American context, if you want to work with multilingual learner, that means you have to work in TESOL field. For me, that's kind of a wake-up moment for me, because for me, this is not equivalent. Supporting and working with multilingual learner does not mean that teaching them English. So I immediately feel such conflict and tension. When I got my first job in TESOL, and this has been this. And I have been holding on to this conflict and tension and try to make sense of it. And that become my drive to continue my path in the field of ELT. So that's the brief background of my being in a ELT field.
Thank you. Thanks for giving us an insight into your career path and let's say the initial point. And now we're going to dive deeper into that and talk more about this and diversity and multilingual classrooms. And so I'm interested to know, Ching-Ching, first, what made you think about the international experience, like from Vietnam to the USA? Can you tell us about the inner journey you had it there? Like, was there kind of an inner call, like you wanted to travel and try the new experience abroad? Or was it like by chance you received a scholarship, or maybe you received a job offer and then you traveled to the USA? So how did, let's say, to frame it in a question, how did your international let's say academic life started from Taiwan to the USA?
Well, Taiwan, geographically speaking, Taiwan is a very, very tiny island, and we have very, very limited resources in terms of education, in terms of economic resources. So I think for every family, they all have a developed kind of aspiration to send their kids abroad to the United States and also to other European countries. I mean, for many parents, those countries have better educational systems. And also Taiwan was also, in addition to Japanese, they are also under the sphere influence of America. So a lot of Taiwanese family, they are pursuing American dream. They save the parents save money, working hard so that they can send their children to America to study, to pursue a better life. I think that sum up a lot of Taiwanese parents' mentality. So it's in this kind of background that I came to the United States to study. I was So my experience in my first year in the United States has very profound impact how I look at this educational system and how this education system perceive international students like me, and how they theorize and how they inform their education with multilingual learners. I don't know if you want me to continue to
As you like. I don't want to interrupt.
Thinking.
Yeah, I don't want to interrupt you because I like what you're saying, but I might maybe ask you some questions about maybe the first one. How did Ching-Ching live the American dream? That is the first question, so I'll give you time to think about it. And the second question, now, if you're teaching international students with some level of empathy, with your prior experience as an international student, do you think it's good to have tried the experience first yourself as being an international student and then a professional now teaching internationals? So how do you see it? Like first, the American dream, and second, let's say you being like, let's say, having went through the process in teaching others, going the same process. Do you think empathy can help you in this way or not? So I'll give you the freedom to answer which question first. So as you like. So well, yeah.
So English definitely is double-edged. So I have so English give as a global language, it all give us an opportunity to experience the world, to see the world, to communicate beyond our immediate environment. And I certainly benefit from my English education, and I'm very, very grateful for it. But through my own English language learning and teaching journey here, I was also become this illusion about this system, and I want to quote one expression from a feminist philosopher, Elizabeth Ellsworth. She used this with her experience with critical pedagogy. She said it doesn't feel empowering because that critical pedagogy, despite its critical credential, it does not speak to women's experience. And that's how I feel with the dominant the ELT teaching methodology, that it failed to speak to the experience of multilingual learners, especially address their international experience as they move from their country to the United States and navigate the new life. So the system, the system itself. When I talk about the teaching paradigm ELT, I'm thinking about like the method of providing scaffolding and the emphasis in developing academic discourse skill. And there's nothing wrong with this approach per se, but I don't feel it should be the starting point. Deep down, I feel this system can be deeply deficit-oriented because English ELT as a system represent or value a way of knowing, or specific way of knowing about languaging, sometimes at the expense of other culture and the effacement of other cultures. And I think the ESL methodology, they kind of perpetuating this kind of status quo. And I just to make this more concrete, I want to give example, from my own experience working with multilingual learners at the various level. As I mentioned before, I taught at high school, but also taught at community college, higher education. And my experience with adult education has most profound experience with me. So a few years ago, I worked with adult learner at a community college, and they are mostly the mature group. They all have either part-time or full-time position, and they pursuing ESL study at night. And a lot of them, they actually have children studying at same college as they are. So when the school finished, they will with their children and they go home together. So through this experience, I get to know many of them, and I know their life before they came to the United States. Some of them are very accomplished professionals, such as doctor, engineer, in their country. Yet, in the ESL classroom, they often said apologetically, "My English is not good," as if. And for me, this is very heartbreaking, because they should speak about the kind of system we set up that make them feel that they have no voice in the classroom, and their experience is not well received in a classroom context. So that show me that the ELT can be a system of marginalization by classifying them, by categorizing them in a way that actually efface their cultures. And that actually informed my own teaching pedagogy. I feel to move the system more inclusion and equity, we need to flip the curriculum. We need to celebrate the culture. We need to help them tell their story. Yes. And as a teacher, we need to shift our position, from position ourselves as the sole authority of the classroom to more learner-centered, and help them celebrate their strength, their culture, their assets.
Yes. And I have another question, deeply rooted in what you were just mentioning, is like, as a teacher, how do you make sure you ensure the classroom is as inclusive as it can be, with the diversity, with all the aspects that you have in the USA as a multicultural country? So there are people from different backgrounds, but as a teacher yourself, and maybe as a curriculum design, so how can you make sure the curriculum fits within the expectations of learners? As you said, does it speak their voice? Can it enable them to utter, let's say, themselves, to tell their story? So it's not only about teaching students how to speak English, how to use it to write articles, to write papers, to write books. We can do everything related to this, but still, we can still feel we are unheard, and especially if we live in a different country from the one that let's say, we're born in. So how can international students, or maybe, let's say, let me ask the question differently. How can teachers guide students so that they can speak their voice in class and they feel included and they feel heard?
Well, I think my focus is always on our shared humanity. You know, as a human being, we all have a story to tell. Doesn't matter what age you are. We all have a story. We hear story from our parents, you know, and then later on we start our own journey in life. We develop our own story. We are making our own story. So every human being have a story to tell, and so our job as teachers is to help them unlock their passion and to tell the story. And so even if they are diverse, they can come from diverse background, but they all have a story that others are interested in hearing, and we want to hear their story, and so that they can feel they are heard and they are seen in these collective communities. So my pedagogy is always focused on the storytelling, because I think the storytelling is a higher form of academic discourse. Even academic, the so-called academic discourse, like article, you know, like essay writing. If you read it deeply, the author is always trying to tell a story, and when we're reading, we are actually trying to deconstruct the story they want to tell, and so that's always my entry point, to start with tap into their identity, and sometimes we have to position ourselves as a learner, as a listener, so that they will feel comfortable in exploring in their own identities. So recently, I have been working on a framework called community asset mapping. That's something that tap into the teacher's positionality as a learner, and through some process of amplifying their voice, help them to tell their story. And hopefully along the way, we collectively are challenging and decolonize system that has been a source of oppression for multilingual learners. So actually, I collaborate a project with my colleagues at the New York State TESOL, Nicole Bell and Jasmine Cowing. We send out call for proposal. We engage teachers to position themselves a learner and map their student assets, and there has been made into a book and published in Amazon. We were very proud of that project.
Mm-hmm. So very proud of you, you know, and
we are very proud ourselves too.
So that you tap into everything which is sometimes unsaid. Most of the times, you know, people, they just forget about that facet, you know, and if we position ourselves in the shoes of our students, so we can understand them, and in a way they can get the message in a better way, you know. And after all, it's, as you said, it's a human experience. It's not only just infusing input and that's it. So it's beyond that. And now I'm going to go back to Ikigai and the way you perceive it. And professionally speaking, Ching-Ching, do you consider yourself like you found your Ikigai, or not yet? Or is it only one Ikigai, or maybe multiple Ikigais, since we talk about diversity and multiplicity? Because some people change over time. And I'm sure, myself included, I had different versions of Yousra's all through time, you know, Yousra, the young adult, and then the student, then the young and novice professor, and then now. So we evolve over time. I'm interested to know how you perceive Ikigai from your background, and do you see it only linked to profession or include in other aspects? So how is Ikigai with you, Ching-Ching?
I think I certainly found my Ikigai. Of course, I didn't use this terminology before until I met you. But this concept really speak to me. And I feel I can use this concept to examine my own life journey and my own career development. So as example, you know, I always have such
So let us first yeah, I'll guide you a little bit. So you started talking about your father and Ikigai, and how did you perceive it from Japan's point of view? So let's go to the young version, the younger self of Ching-Ching. And if ever your younger self now is sending you a letter, maybe a message, what would it say to the older Ching-Ching when it comes to your life purpose, your achievements?
You mean the younger?
Yes.
Younger self sending message to older
To
self?
the older one, yes.
Or older one sending message?
It should be proud of you first. And second, what, let's say, did you achieve everything you just planned? Or not yet? Like, if your younger self now was talking to you, would be saying, good job, you did everything that I was and aspired to do, like when I was younger. How was it? This is, by the way, an exercise that I do even to my students, to let them reflect on their objectives and milestones and what they achieved in life. So
yes,
a letter from your younger self.
My younger self certainly will be proud of the way I evolved through the life. When I came to the United States, I was full of enthusiasm. You know, I'm so ready to experience the new adventure and meet the new people. But then I experienced the culture shock, the language barrier, and suddenly I was silenced. And for many, many years, I internalized this profound sense of inferiority. You know, I self-silenced myself.
To hear about this. Yeah.
No, now I look back, that's part of life journey. You know, we all going through this kind of you know, the cycle.
Yes. Sometimes we see it, sometimes we don't. Yes. It's good that you externalize this. Yeah.
Yeah. So even when I started my TESOL career, I always second guess my own ability being a good teacher, because I feel my English is not enough, you know, to be an English teacher for multilingual learners. But over years, I was fortunate enough to be inspired a lot of people around me, through interacting with them, through you know, through this kind of positive, constructive partnership. I grow a more positive image of myself. And I think my passion and my identity and my commitment to continue to learn, to better myself, my desire to reclaim the cultural and language I lost, these are all my Ikigai, become something that continue to inspire myself as I continue to move along, to move on my journey.
Yes. Let me tell you something. you are someone very unique. And, as an observer, once I started discovering all communities, you were noticeable in the sense you're still doing a great job, and just by being yourself. I don't know if you know this or someone has told you this before. So let me tell you this. It's like you stand out from let's say you don't look like someone else. You don't like act like anyone else. So you just being yourself. And even the way you tell your story on social media, on Facebook, for example, through your posts, through even your photos, everything is artistic about what you say. And the level of empathy you're using. For example, I still remember one post you talked about collaborative cooking in your family. So, and that is something really so nice. And but just the fact by being yourself, Ching-Ching, that is amazing. And you are, let's say, an inspiration to others. And whether you know it or not, but just by the fact of being yourself. And I just recognize, when it comes to the IKIGAI podcast, I'm very, very selective, I'm very careful who to choose to be a guest on my show, You know why? Because not everyone can understand what is IKIGAI. It requires a certain level of empathy with oneself, with others. And I like that about you, because you showed that empathy every time everyone interacts in your group. And now you're showing it by telling your story. And I'll let you continue. I'm sorry I interrupted you, but I just wanted to say this. Yeah.
No, I'm very moved about what you are saying to me. It's always that this kind of friendship it's always come as a nice surprise,
Yes.
as we continue to build to build ourselves. And exactly what you were saying, that I consider my life being a project of storytelling. Not just tell my story, but I try to use myself as a way to by telling my story, I'm actually inviting other people to share stories so that we can build some share humanity collective narrative, and use that to change the world for a better to move the world to a better future.
A better world. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. My next question is to your future self. So actually, this is the like before the end. I have two more questions. So this one and the last one. So the last one is not a question; it's just something really so quick. So to your future self, Ching-Ching, do you have a special message, like maybe not your future self, not necessarily that, maybe to Ching-Ching now? Let's live in the now moment now. Like, do you want to tell a message to yourself, to your body, to your soul, take a few minutes. I'm just, even when talking to you, I'm just closing my eyes so that I do this even as a meditation, because I do really believe in the power of meditation. So what kind of message now, Ching-Ching, would you like to maybe tell yourself at this particular moment right now, or maybe the future, as you like?
I think I'm reaching to a phase in my life that I simply want to live to tell my own truth. And I think I have taken the first step, and I think I should be proud of myself. And that's what I have been telling myself, you have come a long way, and you are doing fine, and you should celebrate every small moment of triumph, and but continue to focus on the big picture, and continue to enjoy the journey, the process, and don't forget about people surrounding you, those people who inspire you, and you are a community, I believe in kindness and share humanity. These are my ikigai, So this is something that I would tell myself,
Yes.
to the present and also the future self.
So happy for you. So happy for you. And what I tell you is that you should be proud of yourself, and we're proud of you. And we learn from you. And I learn from the way you interact with people, and the way you even what you share is very useful to the community. And thank you for being who you are. So the last question before we wrap up, I'd like you to check now next to you on your desk, maybe, or in the room you're in, any relevant object that is dear to your heart, something that you like so much. It can be relevant maybe to your childhood, or maybe to anything. And does it have a story to tell? Usually,
well,
as you like.
Before I say that, I want to say I learned so much from you as well. I think you're much younger than me, but meanwhile you are so wise.
I'm 38. I'm not that young.
You're at such an early age.
I'm 38. I'm not that young. If, for example, for me, I have something so really. Here is it. Let me tell you just before we wrap up. So this elephant, even though it has lost some of the jewelry on it, but it's, for me, it's dear to my heart because it reminds me of my trip to Thailand. And while I was there, I discovered the animal spirit, elephant spirit. I've interacted with elephants. I've bought anything related to that, and when it comes to the interaction with elephants, I noticed that there were that kind of, people would enjoy taking photos with elephants, but for them, it was a tough job to do, to carry tourists. Okay, and then just do the tour. So as I said, I was really impressed by many cultures. So whenever I travel, so I try to get something relevant to that culture, and I keep it with me to decorate maybe my desk and my room. So what about you, Ching-Ching? So what do you think of this?
So I have been traveling a lot myself, but every time I travel, I didn't want to buy souvenir because no matter what, they cannot do justice to my memory of the place. Yes. And also I feel the material can be a burden to our mobility and the freedom, because I'm a person who move a lot. My parents, and my family, they are all still in Taiwan, and I'm the only one who's still in this country. Even though this is no longer a strange land to me, this is my adopted country. However, I always feel maybe anytime that if my country, if my parents need me, I need to go home right away. So I want to free myself from all those material things. So in my apartment, right now I'm not in my apartment, but in my apartment, I make sure that I have a lot of space. I have a desk to work, and the chair. I have my computer and a bed. And then that's it. Basically, that's it. I feel my life
lighter.
I'm blessed to have a lot of friendship, and my work, my fulfilling work, and I need, that's my focus, and I need a lot of space to help me to reflect, to examine myself, so that I can better serve people around me.
I like this philosophy a lot, actually, and it reminds me a little bit to the east part of the world, because I like, and I've been to Asia, to many countries, among them Malaysia and Thailand, and what I like about their vision to, let's say, to the furniture, even in Japan, how they organize things, not necessarily minimalist, but as you said, less sophisticated things, simple things that can make you feel well at ease, like a desk to write on, to work on, just a bed to sleep on, and things that they are basic, but really the importance of putting those things even together. And part of this, even for the feng shui, I'm sure you're aware of the feng shui theory as well. So it's like everything has energy, including the furniture we put in our house, let's say the way we organize it, how energy flows in a way. So the fact you said not attaching yourself to anything material, because apart from the human being, everything is just ephemeral. We can't keep like this pen like forever, but as you said, a memory can be imprinted in your memory and in your mind like forever. It doesn't have to need to this pen just to remember that. But sometimes we just tend to, now I'm speaking a little bit of philosophically, we take photos sometimes just to immortalize those moments. We buy these things just let us maybe remember that on that particular moment we've been to that place. And but that's maybe an attempt from us to immortalize it. How do you see this, like identity and memory in the sense, in a philosophical sense? So because I'm majoring in literature myself, so I like to talk about this from a philosophical point of view, if you don't mind.
I really like what you say about immortalize our memory. Yes, because as we going through life, we can become forgetful. Sometimes forgetful,
Yes,
can be a curse, but also can be a blessing.
Sure.
But there are some moments, some precious moment in life, we really want to hold on to that moment. Like you say, immortalize it. Yes, I did take when I came to this country, I took a lot of picture with me, and even when I go home, I try to digitalize those picture, and I save in a safe place in iCloud. So yes, so in a way I accumulate the things, and that things we form emotional attachment to it. Yeah, they become part of our identity. So our identity is not just it's just empty shell, it's made up of our memory and family relationship, friendship, and many other relationship in the world.
They're much more valuable, yes, as you said, much more valuable than material things.
Yes.
And let me maybe wrap up to ask the last question. And I have a lot of things to tell you about, honestly, because like you're a person who accepts the other, and let's say, but let me just ask you one last question, Ching-Ching. Is that if ever you'll be writing a book about your life, what would the title would be? I know this is a surprise question, this one. So yes, if ever now you see your life as a movie of the photos you took, if you see your life as a movie of the places you've been, the people you talked to, the food you ate, the smell that you sent and everywhere, you know, the collection of sunsets you've been witnessing in your country and in the USA, all of this together into a movie or maybe a book, what would the title would be?
It won't be a book about myself. It will be a book, for example, the world.
Yes.
All the world, but seen through my own experience.
Yes.
Actually, I was talking about a possible book project with a dear friend of mine, Clara Bowler, Dr. Clara Bowler. We are talking about writing a social linguistic textbook, but it's not about literature review. It's about it's also a collaborative ethnography project. So in a way, it's tell our experience as multilingual learner, navigator, ELT field.
Yeah.
So telling our story and also tell other people's story that we know of. So that's the book that we are actually can think of. We're thinking about writing together. In a way, that's our book. That's a book of our life too.
Yes, it is. I'm sure, because every book tells a story, as you said, and it's the collection of experience you had, and it's good that it's collective and collaborative and much more inclusive. And so, best of luck, Ching Ching, for your future endeavors, for your future projects. And feel free to get in touch anytime. And you're welcome to my country anytime. And by the way, I've already told you I'm from Tunisia, and I'll be so glad to see you. Maybe here in my country, maybe abroad in international conference, be it a TESOL convention, or be it any other association, or maybe just a friendly gathering with colleagues around the world. So you are a pure soul and a nice person, and I was so glad to have you as my guest. And I'll let you say if you want to say anything before we wrap up the podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to seeing you in some part of our universe in the near future. And again, thank you for this IKIGAI philosophy. I hope I will continue to use this to examine my life and encourage other people to do the same.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And take care of yourself. And feel free to share, let's say, whatever you want. For example, if you have books that you want people to read, if you have any publications that you esteem there are really interesting to others, I will include this into the description of your episode if you have your website. So anything you want me to include into this. And thank you very much, and see you soon. Take care of yourself. And to our listeners and whoever is watching the IKIGAI podcast, thank you very much for tuning in. And I really hope that you can have a look at the other podcasts as well as this one. And stay blessed and stay safe, everyone. And how do we say bye-bye in your mother tongue, Ching-Ching?
再见.
Could you please repeat?
再见.
Tai Chia?
再见.
Tai Chia. It's in my language, Bislema. Bye-bye.
It means to see you again. It promise that we will meet again. Our path will come across again.
It is. You teach me your language, and I'll teach you Arabic, Chin-Chin.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's our promise to each other.
It is. I'm learning.
Yeah.
I'm a quick learner, and I'll be glad if you can guide me along this. And thank you very much. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Take care.
Thanks.